Good everyone, welcome to this video. Today we have another one of the carries that I've had over the last few days. And today we have one of Harry's favourites, the Chinese A6M2 Zero. This is a plane that I've personally enjoyed for quite some time. I've had it since War Bonds of last year, I believe. And, well, it's a Zero. Joe loves Zeros. What more can I say? Obviously, these things aren't for everyone, and I can understand why some people hate the Zeros. But they are amazing planes, and whilst it is difficult to carry in them, whilst you do need a bit of luck, these things can do the work if people are dumb enough to fall for the same trick twice, which you'll be surprised. Now, those of you who may remember the US A6M2 review, you may remember a little trick I showed you, where if an enemy is coming at you head on and you're in a Zero, you can also do this in Spitfires to some extent. Obviously, not against a Zero, the Zero will whoop your ass. You dive down, you then cut either to the left or to the right to dodge your opponent, and the majority of times, the enemy seems to like to turn because they think they can get a shot on you. But they can't. You're in a Zero, and even if they would have a shot, you're behind them already. And this is a trick that a lot of players tend to fall for. I'm also going to be showcasing how to counter it, because there's a very simple way to counter it. And if you remember from the What is Pay to Win video, you may remember the player who didn't know how to counter it and then accused my plane of being pay to win. Obviously, that was the US Zero. This is the Chinese Zero. For those that are wondering the differences between the Chinese Zero and the US Zero, in case you didn't watch my reviews, which I recommend you should, it's literally just the skin, and the Chinese Zero gets bombs. Funnily enough, I do use these bombs in the battle, but it's towards the end where I have to knock out a pillbox just to try and prevent ticket bleed from being as bad as possible. So you do get to see the bombs later in action. But how about we go take a look at what happened with that battle, and let's take a look at that carry, because you're going to love this one. Munchkin's already seen it, because Munchkin, for some, like, every time I get a carry, I pretty much normally send it to Munchkin just so he can have a look, because that's just how he is. He loves to look at my carries. And during this battle, I had a daily task, which was that War Eagle one, where you have to get 2 kills in a game, but you don't have to win it. Now, I got my 2 kills in this match, and then some, but I wanted to win. I was confident I could. So, let's get going. So for the first few minutes, nothing really happens. Just taking off, 3.7 match, and already I saw a couple of problems with my team. One, this I-185 has bombs strapped. This P-40 has bombs strapped. There's a P-1Y1 in our team, which, if you've seen the sub-request for that, you'll see how shit that is. And then we have Harry's favourite talisman, Bomber. So, not exactly a great start. But I spend a good few minutes climbing up, and on the enemy team there's quite a few aircraft which can pose a threat. Surprisingly though, the enemy only has one skyrocket, which if you've been playing at this BR, they are very fucking annoying because they are everywhere. I was initially going to target this Leo 451, but I decided against it. I'm sort of glad I did, because he's smart enough to dive away, which, fun fact about the Leo, they actually buffed the MG that the pilot gets from 300 rounds to 1500 rounds. It used to have 1500 rounds, but then Gaijin were like, yes, it don't have 1500 rounds, it had 300 now, and then they eventually changed it back in one of the dev changes a while back. So that's at least something that, in case you didn't know that, you know it now. And as you can see by my team, it's not going well. The team is being pushed down. The skyrocket is pushing down our highest plane, a BF-19E4. And, well, I'm going to have to get stuck in. And whilst I've spent a few minutes climbing, I'm eventually going to have to pick a target. And I decided on the XP-50. It didn't matter where he was or what he was doing, he was dying first. But if you look in the top left over here, you can just see the odds are massively stacked against me. The enemy team has completely kicked the arse of my team, and it's unbelievable that my team has actually collapsed so quickly. But to be fair, this is a low tier game. Like, it's just how it is. There's nothing you can really do about it. So right now, I'm deciding on picking up the XP50 for for a start, because he's target priority. I don't care what anyone says, that thing is flying burst. Short burst, take off a wingtip, and that forces him into a flat spin, and down goes Skyrocket for kill number 1. However, it's about to get a whole lot worse before it gets a whole lot better. Just to pause it here. So we have the Spitfire in front of us. That is a Mark 5B Spitfire. But if we go to free camera and take a look around us, there's an RE2001 in the area, there's an F6F5 in the area, and I believe there's an SB2C just over to the right. It's very slow camera, so I do apologize for this. Whereabouts is he? Yeah, he's just over to the right, just beneath me. He's already dropping his bombs, he's got a kill, and he's currently ground striking, but he's still in the area and will pose a threat later. At the moment, the D5 Stuka doesn't contribute anything, so I know I normally say that this isn't a 1 versus etc, because obviously I like to include bombers as well, because they're still teammates. With the contribution of this guy, I'm not including him, so this is technically a 1 versus 7. So let's begin. Spitfire comes for a head-on. I fire a burst, get out of the way, but obviously I'm keeping an eye out around me. My main focus is going to be to kill the Spitfire. Whilst it is not as maneuverable as me, I still want to kill it. And of course, the odds are starting to get massively against me right now. I'm trying to put as much damage on the Spit as possible, because at the end of the day, I want to cripple its maneuverability. I crippled the RE2001, I damaged the Spitfire even more, but as I said, here comes the SB2C. This is a 4 versus 1, by the way. I just thought I'd point that out. You just haven't seen the Hellcat yet, and there he is. This is a 4-on-1 dogfight. And I'm taking hits. It's not like I got out of this unscathed, and I'm very lucky to be alive in this match. At this moment, I'm down to just the MGs, but I managed to set the Hellcat on fire, and that is going to be the end of the Hellcat. I moved towards the Stuka to give me a hand, but of course, he somehow manages to fuck it up with a head-on, and well, whilst the Stuka doesn't get credit, he immediately gets pilot sniped by the RE2001, contributing very little to the team. The RE2001 is coming back. Obviously, I've managed to turn this into a 1 versus 3 moment, at least for now. The Helldiver is actually out of ammunition, so it's now turned into a 1 versus 2. At least, you could have made it a 1 versus 3 if you tried to use the back gunners, but clearly people don't think like I do. Pouring on the pain, I'm obviously keeping an eye out on the Spitfire. He comes in, does score a hit, but it was so minor my Zeros honestly didn't care. And now we're getting into the speed territory of where the Spitfire will simply lose to a 0. He's trying to play it smart, but at the same time he's turning and he's using up all of his energy. And there's only a matter of time before I catch up to you, buddy. Of course, I'm only using MGs, but he flat spins, and that is the end of the Spitfire for kill number 3. Now, I was thinking, should I go back to base and repair, or should I make sure that RE2001 doesn't get home? And I decided on the latter, purely because I don't really want to deal with something that's that maneuverable, because even though the Aero 2001 is not a great plane, at least in my opinion, it is still very maneuverable and can match Spitfires. However, even after 2 crits, I don't even get kill credit, I just get an assist. Oh well. But that's now turned this match into a 1 versus 4. Even though I was a bit annoyed I didn't get that kill, we're gonna make up for it later, don't worry. So, let's jump ahead a couple of minutes, and let's get back to the runway for some ammunition and a new left wing, because if you look at my wing, it's not exactly in good shape. The B-18 actually crashed then, as I was flying back to base, and now it's a 1 versus 3. And I was debating actually leaving the match, because obviously I had my 2 kills I needed, I didn't need to win, but I saw the opportunity, and I thought, why not? Now I bet you're wondering, for those that are actually watching up to this point, where's the trick? You haven't used your trick once. And looks like the replay's just crashed. Oh no, it hasn't. Thank God for that. I was changing out to get bombs there, but I thought the replay had crashed because it just didn't play properly. Sorry about that. But I've strapped the bombs on, and I'm heading towards the final enemy fighter, which is a P-38E. I'm sure Flight is going to be in the comments going P-38 or P-38E or something like that, because that's just how he is. So now it's time for my little trick. Those of you who have watched the A6M2 US review, you'll know this like bread and butter by now. At least I hope so. Now there's a very simple way for this P-38 to counter this. He is still going faster than me, and he is diving on me. All he has to do is go straight. Watch my airspeed when I pull this maneuver. And remember, I'm lugging bombs. I'm not exactly 100% unburdened here. So he goes for a shot, messes it up. My airspeed drops to below 200 miles per hour, and he goes for a turn. But if he's trying to extend now, but it's a bit late for that, buddy. I crit his right wing, he's slow as hell, and there we go. He doesn't sound too pleased, does he? Oh, should turn fire 0, jackass. Kill number 4. Now, of course, my immediate priority is to get these bombs off. Whilst the maneuverability of the Zero doesn't really drop that much when you strap on bombs to it, it's still something that I would rather get off, really. But still, it's just something that I want to do. Like, they're not the heaviest bombs, they're only 60 kilogram armor-piercing naval bombs, but they're still bombs, and they still weigh 120 kilograms, which could make the difference in a dogfight. And especially when intercepting enemy bombers, because obviously the last 2 are a Helldiver and a Leo 451. And bombs away, and that's the light pillbox. Whilst that isn't going to help my current ticket situation, it's still better than nothing. And once again, folks, whilst it's a bit harder for the SB2C to actually do what I recommend to do to counter this, he still falls for it. So here we go. And he uses his back gun in there, although I'm pretty sure that was AI. And then he pulls it into the vertical, training his speed. And, well, he's having a... Well, he decides to become a Beyblade, is all I'm saying. How many of you lot actually know what a Beyblade is, by the way? Comments below. There's skill number 5, and that is the ace in a day. However, there is one plane left, a Leo 451. And this slippery little shit is actually going to be proving quite troublesome, because the Leo has an altitude advantage, and is relatively tanky. At least to crappy Japanese 7.7s. I hope you enjoyed that buzzsaw effect, by the way. That's what happens when you speed up the replay when shooting with Japanese guns, by the way. They sound like chainsaws. It's pretty awesome. Now I have crit the Leo, I'm aiming for the engines, well at least trying to, but it's going to take a while, and luckily for me, the Leo pilot is actually kind of dumb. You may notice flak fire there. That's our runway. And unfortunately for Mr. Leo, he doesn't exactly play it very smart because he continues to fly into the flak area. I'm continuing to pour in the pain, but of course, flak fire goes straight for his cockpit, finishes him off for kill number 6. That was an amazing carry for me, at least. It was definitely something that really shows off the capability of this plane, and really shows, even against the odds, it's always best to try. And even if you don't succeed, you might learn something. But anyway, I'm going to go guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's review. Well, I say review. Why am I saying review? It's probably because I've reviewed a plane like this, but enjoyed this carry on the Chinese A6M2, and I will see you all on the next one.